Fidei.email, you don't need to compromise faith to participate in the modern world. Instead of pushing ads and invasive practices that conflict with Catholic values, we built Fidei to reclaim technology for Christendom. When you use Fidei.email, you declare your commitment to technology that defends Christian tradition. Join Fidei.email today and use technology to advance Christendom.
Last week, the Pope did something that a Pope should do every day and should not actually make headlines for doing it. He re-established and reiterated the Church's timely, timeless teaching on holy matrimony. Timely because the world is still in a phase of ideological drunkenness, trying to redefine basic constructs and concepts that have been the foundation of society and civilization since man stepped off the ark. And yet here we are being told that basic things like the reality of the family, what constitutes a marriage, and all the rest are open for debate. And for the last decade or so, Rome has played footsie with this, finding value in unnatural pairings, even going so far as to bless unnatural pairings. The constitutive members of it, they say, even though everybody knows it was their relationship that was being blessed. It's trying to find some beauty in adulterous pairings. And now, last week, the new Pope did the most basic Catholic thing of all. Reiterated the timeless teaching of the Church on this matter. And he did so without a lot of fanfare, without a lot of pushback either. But Catholics did quietly rejoice, because it was nice to have some sanity back in Rome. But some very James Martin type priests are not happy at all. Now, James Martin himself has not pushed back on this, because James Martin is one of the smartest of the modernist prelates or modernist priests in the entire church. He knows how not to react. And in this case, his European counterpart, a Father Maggi, should actually take some notes, because he took to La Stampa, which is one of the biggest newspapers in Italy, and he just went off on the new Pope. And in it is a threat. We'll see if you can detect it here as we go over this article. I'll go to Info Vaticana, who reprinted the article. Unfortunately, their website is such a huge mess of ads that you can't do anything about. We will just go from the text itself, copied into a document that I'll have on screen for you. But the headline is, Ecclesiastical Dinosaurs Raise Their Eyebrows. And they talk a little bit about here about the the La Stampa article, and the La Vita and La Stampa are the ones who reposted it. But the original headline from the original article is, Bergoglio's orphans threaten Leo. No to a reversal of marriage. La Stampa scolds the Pope who continues to dismantle Francis's positions, the latest on the family. For Jesus, the family is free. Now, I would caution people. There's a meme, it's almost a meme that he corrected Francis. He didn't correct him. He contradicted him. Correction is an active, overt action you take. You make clear when you're correcting something that you are correcting it. You don't quietly do it. He contradicted him. And then people are talking about how bold it is. It would be better for him to correct. Rip the Band-Aid off and do it. I don't think he's going to, unfortunately. But be that as it may, this article from La Stampa is eye-opening, so let's go over this. From the article, quote, if we're up to Father Alberto Maggi, can we say father, or is that a gender gap? Perhaps better, consecrated parent number 2. The ideal Pope would be Mina singing, I am as you love me. I am the only one who can understand everything there is to understand about you. That is the a la carte church that Bergoglio's orphans still yearn for. The preacher of the Order of the Servants of Mary, who lives in a small town in Macerata called Montefano, welcomes everyone, from James Martin types to heretics, from James Martin pairings to followers of the Crescent Moon religion. And he didn't take kindly to Leo XIV's reaffirmation during the Angelus on Sunday of what he had already declared to the diplomatic corps the week before. Marriage is true love between a man and a woman. Marriage is not an ideal, but the canon of true love between a man and a woman. Total, faithful, fruitful love. But how can this be? The director of the Giovanni Vannucci Theological Center for Biblical Studies objects in an interview with La Stampa. As a church, we must be careful not to take steps backward in the way we communicate welcome. Maggie insists, I have always welcomed those who feel excluded and hurt by the church. Many James Martin types and those confused about the immutable nature of the flesh. And there is the church that Maggie likes. One of the many, starting with the German bishops, led by Cardinal Reinhard Marx, nomen omen, who support total freedom. The Spirit is the guarantee of a church capable of responding to the novelties of history. The danger lies when, frightened, the church takes refuge in old answers to new questions. When it does, people stop listening. It is the faith of that religious marketing that during the years of Francis's pontificate swept through the Catholic vanguard. But today a new wind is blowing. For Maggie, but not only for him, it is rather stale air, brought by Leo XIV, who with gestures and words has already made it clear that with Bergoglio the church has closed a new era. And it's not about being a retrosaurus, as Francis fervently called those who disagreed with him. It's about reestablishing certain boundaries of faith. What is happening is so evident that this father, or consecrated parent number 2, explains to the Pope that, in the gospel, family means a welcoming community. Jesus frees the family from social blackmail. There is a reference here to Fiducia Supplicans' declaration, which allowed for a certain degree of laxity in the blessings of James Martin types in the church. There was hesitation in its interpretation, and in the end it was decided that the blessing should last no more than 10 seconds and should be done away from prying eyes. An exercise in prudence or perhaps hypocrisy that Pope Prevost must not have liked at all. He is fully Augustinian. He is the first pontiff in the 1,000-year history of the Order of St. Augustine, and St. Augustine of Hippo dedicates a treatise to marriage, in which he states, the union of man and woman is a good. And in De Trinitate, he compares the family with the Trinity, stating, the family represents a fundamental unit, a microcosm that reflects the divine order and prepares for eternal love. That is why the Pope has not backed down, but rather affirms what the Church has always maintained. It's interesting to note that when Bergoglio carried Pachamama, the pagan deity of Latin America, in a procession in St. Peter's, it was considered progress, while when Leo XIV referred to one of the Church Fathers, he was criticized for being retrograde. From this perspective, Leo XIV was retrograde from the start. He wore the mozzetta, the red satin cap reserved for the Pope and which Bergoglio had rejected, and chose to live in the Apostolic Palace. According to some indiscretions, Francis's decision to live in Santa Marta to protest against papal opulence cost the Vatican 200,000 euros more per year than the papal apartment in the Apostolic Palace. End quote. We'll return to that in a moment. But the Italian equivalent of Father James Martin is not happy because the Church's traditional teaching on the nature of the family is exclusionary. It's what it does. It's very divisive. If you bring this teaching up, say in social media anywhere where people feel emboldened to just say what they really think without thought to the consequences at all, if you go into any social media forum where people are talking about this stuff and you start reiterating the Church's teaching, what happens to you? Or even better yet, what happens when you do this in a Catholic forum where people are self-described Catholics but reject the Church's most basic moral teachings? Pew Research had a recent survey result showing that more than half of Catholics, regular mass-going Catholics, reject the Church's teaching on pretty much everything when it comes to morality. Which begs a question, why would you be Catholic if you didn't think that the Church, which professes to speak for God, actually speaks for God? The lack of logic here is astonishing. And the same goes for that priest. Why would you remain a priest in the Church if you believe the Church got it wrong on morality? It's a question we always ask Father James Martin, which brings us back to this article here. Quote, Prevost has shown many signs of renewal in this short period. For example, with the appointment of Cardinal Robert Serra, the highest moral authority among the African cardinals, a traditionalist, as the Pope's special envoy for diplomatic and ecclesiastical missions. As an aside, he was made the special envoy for the anniversary of an apparition in Europe. That was about it. And Leo XIV's latest restoration took place just yesterday, a few days ago. According to the Holy See, he has appointed Dr. Luigi Carbone as director of the Directorate of Health and Hygiene of the Government of Vatican City-State, effective August 1st, 2025. This appointment is especially significant because it restores the position of the archiatrist, the Pope's personal physician, present throughout the history of the Church, a position that was eliminated by Francis, who preferred treatment at the Gemelli Hospital and had only his nurse, Massimiliano Strapetti, who accompanied him until the end. Well, by the way, even under the Bergoglio, the Pope Mobile had reverse gear. End quote. Some of that, the quips there kind of get lost in translation. But even Francis was able to go backwards if he had so chosen to. And that's kind of the point. The great danger, if you have a revolutionary kind of pope, is that somebody, a future successor, can always go into reverse gear. By the way, the same is true for a restorationist pope. If we are blessed in our lifetimes to get Pope Pius XIII, complete with flaming sword, casting out the heretics and the James Martin types from the priesthood, restoring the church to its pre-conciliar glory, and all the rest of it that many of us traditionalists would love to see. Unless he does things a certain way, his successor can undo it. And that's a cautionary tale here. Most people tout Leo XIV's age and hope that if he does the right thing after the right thing after the right thing, then he quells most of the critics and everything else, and he has a good papacy. They tout his being not at 70 until this fall. I think he'll be there for 20 years. That may not be the case. The successor could undo what he does. But he hasn't done anything yet, except make a few appointments. So pray for the Pope. Pray that he, when it comes time to make the actual concrete decisions, his actions match his words. That is the fear many have. But I'm curious what you think about this in the comments. So let me know what you think. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't. It certainly helps. So just sharing this on social media, that helps too. And as always, pray for the church. I'm Anthony Stine. Ave Maria.